Hi, everyone. My name is Samira Solomon,
I'm Shanice Blair.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Warren.
and today we're going to be talking about kindergarten readiness and Black youth on Galveston Island.
So regarding kindergarten readiness and Black youth in Galveston, we will be covering GISD students and kindergarten readiness. How is kindergarten readiness measured and the requirements of early childhood centers? What affects kindergarten readiness levels of students? The importance, recommendations, and conclusions or questions and answers. The success of students in the education system is highly influenced by early childhood factors. The most prominent factor that plays a role in the success of students in the first years of their life is kindergarten readiness. Kindergarten readiness refers to the knowledge that a child obtains both in the home and in early childhood centers that prepares them for success in kindergarten and further in the education system. High levels of success in kindergarten are frequently correlated with parental involvement in the home and attendance in early childhood pre-K centers. Historically, Black students are found to demonstrate reduced levels of kindergarten readiness as compared to their white counterparts in measures of math, literacy, social skills, and motor skills. Specifically in Galveston, Black students are similarly left on the outskirts of kindergarten readiness. So looking at the data for the school year 2019 in GISD, 453 students were surveyed for the levels of kindergarten readiness. Of the 100 Black students in GISD that were examined, only 13% of those students were determined to be ready for kindergarten. Of the 100 white students in GISD that were examined, 49% of those students were determined to be ready for kindergarten. Even more, kindergarten readiness levels continue to decline for Black students. In school year 2020, only 12% of the Black students were found to be ready for kindergarten. Now, when looking at the background of the students, we see that nearly 80% of the students in GISD come from economically disadvantaged backgrounds, and of those students, a little over 26% were identified as being kindergarten ready. Additionally, a little over 31% of students in GISD were students who were learning English as a second language, and 38.5% of those students were identified as kindergarten ready. So what affects kindergarten readiness levels of students? There are a variety of factors, both inside and outside the classroom, that play an influential role in how students end up ready for kindergarten. And here's where I'll pass it to my colleague, Shanice.
Hello. The first factor that influences kindergarten readiness is experiencing adverse childhood experiences. Students who experience adverse childhood experiences, ACEs, such as poverty, food insecurity, domestic violence, or abuse, are faced with situations that reduce the capacity of parental involvement in creating a productive learning environment within the home. A report published by the American Academy of Pediatrics found the following in regards to early education readiness in children of diverse backgrounds. Children who have had 2 or more ACEs are 2.67 times more likely to repeat a grade compared to their peers without adverse experiences. 48% of low-income children are ready for school at 5 years of age, compared to 75% of children from moderate or high-income households. For Galveston, the 2010 census showed that 29% of people 25 years and older held a bachelor's degree, compared to 32% nationwide. A community survey in 2016 found that family violence and lack of access to mental health care and affordable, high-quality childcare contributed to child abuse and neglect. Analysis of Galveston County data show that the city of Galveston has higher rates of referrals to Child Protective Services than in League City, which is more populous, better educated, and has higher incomes. More data analysis of Galveston has found that in 2018, 88% of Galveston's city resident population of children younger than 5 were found to be characterized as economically disadvantaged. More than half of children younger than 5 in Galveston have the need for safe and enriching care while parents work, attend school, or employment training. And only 24% of Black students in Galveston Independent School District were classified as kindergarten ready. A second factor that influences kindergarten readiness is parental involvement. Parental involvement in early childhood plays a monumental impact on childhood success. Research has demonstrated that parental involvement in early childhood learning makes significant impacts on the child's kindergarten readiness levels and success. Parental involvement begins inside the home. with parents being the prominent source of learning and knowledge for young children. The American Academy of Pediatrics suggests early parental involvement in childhood learning that is focused on expanding language and cognitive skills, which can promote school readiness for students significantly. Examples of parental involvement activities to promote kindergarten readiness are listed. Parental involvement during the first few years of life is crucial to not only children's brain development, but also to preparing students for early academic success. Early parental involvement and the implementation of strategies such as consistent routines and child-centered activities like reading is necessary for encouraging kindergarten readiness levels for children. Limited parental education and experiencing trauma and adverse childhood experiences like poverty play a monumental role in a parent's ability to prepare their child for kindergarten. Research has found that white children are more likely than Black children to be read to or told stories in pre-kindergarten years. Young children of college-educated parents are surrounded by more books at home, while children of less educated parents see and have exposure to fewer books. On average, a typical middle-class child who has begun to read at home will have higher lifetime achievement than a typical low-income child who is taught to read only in school, even if each benefits from good curriculum, effective teaching, and high expectations. Lastly, attending a public or private pre-kindergarten program also influences kindergarten readiness. In Galveston, there are a handful of childhood education centers that parents have the option of enrolling their children in. The most popular options include Moody Early Childhood Center, East End Preschool, Ambassadors Preparatory Academy, Satori School, Trinity Episcopal School, and Odyssey Academy. The public school options include Odyssey Academy, Moody Early Childhood Center, East End Preschool, and Ambassadors Preparatory Academy. The private school options are Satori School, Trinity Episcopal School, Holy Family, Montessori School, a homeschool collaborative, and the East End Preschool. It is important to note that while there are a wide variety of options for childhood education centers, many operate as either a for-profit or nonprofit organization.
All right, so when we look at early childhood center enrollment on Galveston Island, a study assessing early childhood center enrollment on Galveston Island by ethnicity found that white, Asian, and Hispanic students were more likely to be enrolled in high quality early childhood centers. In 2010, 282 or 3 of the 336 or approximately 84% of white students were enrolled in high quality childhood centers, compared to 230 of 401 or 57% of Black students who are enrolled in high quality early childhood centers. The same study found that high quality early childhood centers were likely to be for-profit centers, and local children who came from economically disadvantaged homes were less likely to engage in higher quality for-profit early childhood centers. This puts students on the outside of opportunities that prepares them for success in kindergarten and further perpetuate disparities experienced by Black students in the education system. So when we look at the requirements of early childhood centers, we see that in Texas, there are more than 9,000 early child care education centers. There are different legal requirements for early childhood education education institutes based on the type of facility. For center-based early childhood education programs, Texas law sets restrictions and limits on the number of children a caregiver can supervise and mandates that a certain caregiver to child ratio is maintained based on several factors, including the size of the center, the age of the children, and the size of the group. In addition, the state of Texas requires that the staff of center-based early childhood centers must have a high school degree with at least 30 hours of child development training, with the required annual renewal of training that provides staff with 24 hours of annual professional development. Educators are also required to be trained in first aid and CPR for infants, children, and adults. Public pre-K programs are on the opposite end of the spectrum. For the past few years, Texas public pre-K programs did not have mandated class size, class limits, or teacher to student ratios. In 2016, it was recommended that class sizes be limited, and after 6 long years, Texas finally approved a class size cap of 22 students per class this year. In addition, the state provides curriculum guidelines that are designed to prepare pre-K students for kindergarten. However, public pre-K programs are not mandated to follow them, and they remain optional. As for educators, pre-K students are Pre-K teachers are required to hold a bachelor's degree and have a certificate in teacher preparation program. Unlike the yearly trainings that are required of center-based early childhood centers, public pre-K programs require that professional development training be taken once every 5 years. And neither the training nor the certificates that are required of educators in public pre-K programs needs to be in early childhood. So looking at removal from the classroom and kindergarten readiness is often used as a predictor for the level of academic success that students will achieve as they move throughout the education system. Kindergarten readiness provides students with a framework to build social, emotional, and behavioral skills that prepare them for the education system. Lack of readiness from early education can set students up for a world of consequences, both academically and socially. Students who enter the education system with low levels of success are more likely to be removed from the classroom and deal with increased rates of expulsions and suspensions. Removal from the classroom further contributes to low readiness and academic success rates for students. Baltimore City Public Schools, did a study that aimed to understand the long-term consequences of students who lacked kindergarten readiness. Researchers found that students who were more likely to be classified as not ready for kindergarten were predominantly young Black males from low-income communities. Those same students were more likely to be expelled at least once between kindergarten and 5th grade and were more likely to be held back. Students who had low kindergarten readiness levels also had significantly decreased social behavioral readiness levels. So how is kindergarten readiness measured? The two systems that are used for kindergarten readiness in Texas are the Texas KEA and the TPRI or the TEJAS-LE. So the Texas KEA stands for the Texas Kindergarten Entry Assessment System. The Texas KEA was developed in collaboration between the Texas Education Agency and the U.S. Department of Education. The Texas KEA serves as a holistic tool to measure kindergarten readiness levels based on 6 different domains: language, literacy, STEM, social emotional learning, executive function, and academic motor skills. The tool is first administered in the beginning of the 6 to 8 weeks of the academic school year and is meant to understand and evaluate a child's ability to succeed in kindergarten based on those six different domains. Once the child takes the screening tool, teachers are given one of 2 results: on track kindergarten ready or not ready. If a child is identified as not kindergarten ready, districts may choose to complete further diagnostics and work to get the child to a level of kindergarten readiness. In GISD, the Texas KEA only measures for the core subjects and does not currently include the measure of social emotional learning. Without the measurement of social emotional learning, educators are missing a critical piece in understanding kindergarten readiness. The social emotional learning domain measures both social and emotional competencies, as well as emotional management, and can serve as an essential part of understanding students and can give educators an insight into any learning disabilities students might be dealing with, such as dyslexia. Previously, the TPRI was used throughout Texas and in GISD. The TPRI is a reading assessment designed to understand student levels of kindergarten readiness according to reading development. The TEJAS-LE is a Spanish version of the TPRI for Spanish-speaking students. Both of these tests for things such as letter sound, blending, on-site rhymes, word reading, and reading accuracy. The TPRI was a primary measure of screening for kindergarten readiness for years before the transition of the Texas KEA. While it was effective in understanding reading capabilities of kindergartners, the TPRI did not provide a holistic approach to understanding the full picture of kindergarten readiness in children in the same way that the Texas KEA does. So why is this important? Currently, nearly 90% of Black students in GISD are not kindergarten readiness. Kindergarten readiness is a major indicator of students' future success in the education system, and kindergarten readiness levels remain decreased for Black students, both in Galveston and in Texas. So what are some things that we recommend? Our first recommendation is encouraging the Texas Kindergarten Entry assessment system, or the Texas KEA, to focus on social emotional development. Like we mentioned previously, the addition of the social emotional development can give educators the opportunity to understand students from a holistic perspective and give insight to any learning disabilities that students might be dealing with. Our second recommendation is giving low-income minority parents opportunities to engage students and provide more parental involvement inside the home. Like we mentioned, parental involvement in early childhood is a key determinant to academic success for students. The establishment of parental involvement programs so parents from different communities can understand the importance of incorporating reading and advanced vocabulary from an early age is critical to ensuring early success in the education system. Early parental programs should emphasize the role of the parent in the early academic success of young students and how certain factors such as trauma can affect students' academic development. Strategies should include providing parents with reading materials, basic mathematics, and basic learning toys for children to help them reach early markers of success early in age. And lastly, our last recommendation is reworking GISD pre-K policy and requirements for public and pre-K programs so that students who are in public pre-K programs are not left on the outskirts of early childhood success in the same way that they currently are. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, we will be answering them now.